Hey everyone, welcome back to Girl Talk. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before we get into today's topic, if you could give us a like, share, comment, all that other good stuff, I would appreciate it. So today I would like to talk about the Mackenzie Shirilla case. And it's not so much the case that I want to talk about, but the parents. If you followed me on my first video, which was the intro, um, I talked a little bit about myself, and I am a Gen Xer. I am also a mom to an adult daughter. So the opinions and thoughts and things like that are mine and mine alone. If you agree, great. If you don't agree or are somewhere in the middle, that's okay too. I think we're hopefully all adults and, agree to disagree. Um, One of the things that I do want to say is it is not lost on me that things are different now than they were, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, even 5 years ago. Things are just different. The way we raise our kids are different. That is not lost on me. However, there are some lessons that are timeless and that can be brought into the future when we raise, our children and they raise their children. That just kind of come along with us, and they're good teaching lessons. And one of those things is your first vehicle. In saying that, I want to take you back on a little bit of a journey to 1993. And some of you were born, some of you were not. If you're my age, you were 16 and ready to drive. And one of the lessons that I am so grateful for was I was made to buy my own first car. And I also made my daughter buy her first vehicle. And the reason that was done, and the reason that I am so grateful is, it showed me responsibility. Um, it showed me that, if it comes out of your own pocket, you can't call mom and dad and be like, hey, there's no oil and I blew the engine. Tough shit. Uh, I guess you're walking. There was no handed anything. And of course we want better, for our kids than what we had. But there's a line. And fast forward to this case, and this really hit home with me because I'm listening to the interview, well, multiple interviews with the parents, and I really have to wonder. Actually, I don't have to wonder who is running the show here. I am sorry, but go ahead and try to say that shit to my mom. Even now, I'm 49. Go ahead and have my almost 30-year-old daughter say that to me and see what would happen. I've listened to those jail phone calls, and I don't know, it is and I know I'm a stuttering mess right now because it is so ridiculous, and I don't understand how that's parenting. It's like Mackenzie is the parent here. Wait a minute. You're not supposed to be friends with your kids. Don't get me wrong. Um, you know, I want my daughter to be able to tell me anything and call me at 4 o'clock in the morning. And believe me, that has happened. And you're grabbing your keys and your purse and you're out the door even before you know what's wrong. Or if you're a guy, you're grabbing your keys and wallet. You're going. Um, but the excuses that they make for her, this was not a mental illness. I think today, and again, I realize it is a different world. Again, that's not lost on me. And I don't know if everything today is blamed on, I feel, is blamed on a mental illness. She had anxiety. Well, I don't know about you, but I've been anxious a lot in my life. You don't get to 49 years old and say, oh, I've never been anxious a day in my life. Well, if you can say that, good for you. Like, let me know how you did it because I got nothing here. Um, but we're not blaming that shit. Stop it. It's old. Everything's a mental illness. No, it is not. Sometimes you're just handed everything. Everything was shoved up your ass. You were allowed to do what you wanted to do. And now your parents are supposed to take the blame for the things that you did. I can tell you with 100% certainty. Again, I told you the story from 1993 to bring this to you. Again, I bought my first car. My daughter bought her first car. Do you know what would have happened if I was smoking pot in my car? Excuse me. I was driving like a lunatic. Um, I talked that way to my parents. I had an attitude. I was getting in trouble in school. Um, my battery would have been pulled. And if that didn't work, my keys would have been taken. And if that didn't work, a tire would have been pulled. And the same with my daughter. I'm not saying that I was the perfect parent. And I am not saying that parents don't screw up. Don't get me wrong. Um, Kids do not come with manuals. They didn't when I was born. They didn't now. I mean, that's a known fact. Um, but to say the one video that I think it was with Chris Como. And if you didn't hear that, you got to check it out. That was with her dad, Steve. And he said, what was I supposed to do? Lock her in her room. Yeah. Yep, that's what you're supposed to do. It's called grounding. Apparently, they have never grounded their kids. Talking about kids, and I say that in plural, um, her sister has to feel like shit. Can you imagine having a parent that is just all for one kid and you can't do anything right? And then when you're talking on a jail phone call, you're making a dick out of your other daughter. What kind of parent does that? I think somebody needs to check on that little girl. And I don't say little girl lightly. I think the sister is, late teenager or whatever she is now, but um, she is going to be resentful if she's not already. And I really feel bad for the sister. I do. But back to the parents. Um, you know, Again, this was not a mental health thing, so we can throw that out the window. Um, and they can say all they want that, well, they were going to get married and they were going to do this and they were going to do that. To me, they were toxic for each other. Um, but for them to justify how or why this happened and then to be like, oh, it wasn't a toxic relationship and this and that and blah blah blah. And you can tell from the Jill phone calls she's having a good old time in prison. And I'm sitting here. I was never in trouble a day in my life, knock on wood. I just didn't get caught. No, I'm just joking. No, but we had, the most that we did back in our day was, we went to a bush party. you know um Parents thought that we were sleeping over at a friend's house. Really, we were in literally a bush partying. That's what we were doing. And that's probably, the worst things that we did. But it just doesn't make sense to me. um you go through life and you try to do everything right. You try to obey the law so you don't get in trouble and things like that. And you have to hear about now jails have tablets and they have, this, that. You can get your bachelor degree, which kind of pisses me off, let me just tell you, because why does somebody out there that has children, school age children, they can't afford tablets and iPads and all that stuff? What about those people that, you know, they can't, it's luxury. It's not a necessity. She's having a good old time in there. Um, what the hell are the rest of us obeying the law for? That's what I'm thinking. It's like you get 3 meals a day. She's getting commissary. Um, apparently, she's getting emails from men or whatever, which is kind of disgusting because she's only a 21-year-old girl, but whatever, have at it. But everybody else has to obey the law. And to hear that shit is going on in jail kind of pisses me off. I don't get it. I don't. Jail is supposed to be a punishment. It is not supposed to be a vacation. It is not supposed to be a place where you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you're able to do your hair. It is not a place that your mom, who I think Natalie is a nurse, she said, oh my gosh, they have hemorrhoid cream and you can put those under your bags for your under eye bags. Are you serious right now? That is what you're worried about. What am I missing here, guys? Fill me in. This, again, and I keep repeating myself, and I know that this was not a mental health issue, as we know. And thankfully, they didn't try to say that. This was 100%, this is on parents. I heard this interview, I forgot who it was with, but they even gave her the master bedroom and they let Dom sleep over and this and that. I'm sorry, but if you want to do that nonsense, go over in the field like the rest of us had to do. You ain't doing it. You're not doing it under my roof. We have rules. And I know that Steve had said, well, I wanted to pick battles and stuff like that. Well, you didn't do so good. You failed. I am not a perfect parent. And let me just tell you, I have done a lot of fails in my life, and I probably pulled more epic fails than I have wins. But no one can say that I didn't try, and I didn't try my best. They just gave in to her. She ran the show. And like I said, it just kind of pisses me off on how they can justify this. They need to stop doing interviews because it's just not good. I mean, they are tanking these interviews. So that's my take on that. And let me know what you think. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you soon. Bye.